Jen, I would like to understand what makes a good candidate for home care versus that person should be in an external facility, assisted living or something like that.
Yeah. So I would definitely say that somebody who loves their house and just wants to stay at home. Like, we have many of those that want to stay in their house, and they'll say, I live here. I've lived here for 40 years. I'm going to die here. Right. So we can definitely, I would say that they are a great candidate for home care, that they really, really want to be home. And we can make that happen. We have services from companionship all the way up to, say, Hoyer lift. So, really? Sometimes families don't understand, and they're like, well, how can you can do all of this in the home? Yeah. You mean I don't have to go to a facility? And we say, yeah, we can do a lot of it at home. There are some that do need to get a little bit more, long-term care at a facility. And then some, are maybe a bit more social, so sometimes we meet with families and give those, and we talk about all different options, like assisted living versus home. And some people just, for maybe a little bit more social reasons, or like social butterflies that want to be doing everything and every activity, so
best to be out of the house.
Yeah, exactly. Or it wasn't really, they're looking forward to that next step of moving into a different facility.
My wife is, she said anything happens, she's moving into a condo complex where there's lots of people, and she can socialize. And I'm like, I'm staying home. I don't need that kind of contact. So it depends on the person.
It depends on the person.
Just to jump off what you were talking about, a good candidate at home really is a person who wants to stay at home. But if they don't have the physical abilities, I was kind of impressed that you said that your company can find ways to keep them at home, even though they may not be able to get up and down stairs. So your company will help kind of re-engineer the house so they can live in the house, even though there's disabilities that
is a great point, because we do work with several home modification companies that we can refer and recommend to them. A lot of them can come over and do a free estimate. A lot of the hospitals, acutes, subacutes do refer to home modification companies as well. They can put in the grab bars, the stair lifts, and whatever ramps as well. So we're not going to start a case unless the house is safe.
Right.
So there are other situations where the house is a mess, right? right?
Yeah.
We got these certain circumstances where, we do like to do a home assessment and make sure that the house is nice, especially if it's a live-in situation, because we want to make sure that the caregiver's safe as well. So, but yes, so they could certainly have a home modification company make it safe, but that's part of our job as, client relation, also nursing, is that we do a house assessment. That's really important.
I would think that's very important, especially for the caregivers. They know the house is clean and safe, and so that's good.
Yes, you never want a caregiver to call you back and say, I can't take this case, it's a mess. Right? So we want to make sure that we have the house cleaned out. Sometimes we'll just encourage them to, call a cleaning service. Some of them have been in a hospital or a subacute for a couple of months. And so, we do encourage them to maybe do a little cleanup before they come home.
Yeah, they may have been deteriorating even before that and not really had the ambition to keep the house clean or whatever, be able to do it. And so it could be a lot longer than just those whatever months in rehab.
Yep. And even the home modification companies, they can work on the bathrooms too. They can, do walk-in, showers. And such. There's, durable medical equipment and things like that. We got to make sure that they can get around with the wheelchair in the house. So, there has been some that we go over and say absolutely can be done. And then there are some that it's just not safe. There's 14 stairs and the stair lift just can't go in, things like that. Then there has to be some different arrangements.
Right. Short-term stay, long-term stay, is there a difference in how you treat that case, that client? I don't know why that's curious about that, but it seems like it would be a whole different circumstance for...
So a lot, we can do temp care, so if it's like anything like a week to 2 weeks, we can certainly do that. Sometimes it's really good to start like that and kind of put that out there to the client and to the family, because maybe they're just a little resistant. So some temp care, why don't you start with a week or two and see how it goes? So we can certainly do temporary care. Sometimes, every case is different. Every client is different. Their needs are all different. So they may only need a week or two, of care, versus we have clients that have been with us for years. So it really depends. And again, it depends on, they have the resources to afford the care.
Speaking of resources, what does all this cost?
That's a good question.
It sounds very, very expensive.
I guess that's everybody's probably watching. That's probably their number one thing, right? Is that, how much does this cost?
Sounds good. How much does it cost?
Exactly. So it is private pay. It really ranges. It's probably mid-30s to 40s. Maybe even, early 40s sometimes. It depends. For us, it depends on the level of care that's needed. We see every case as different. But I'm talking across the board here. You're probably talking like low 30s to early 40s. It's a range.
Just to be clear, we're talking about $30,000 a year.
No, 30. I should say, to be clear, $30. Like say mid 30s an hour to early 40s an hour.
See? I'm glad I asked.
I'm glad you did too. That's a big difference.
Yeah. So $30 to $40 an hour gets you all the things we've been talking about.
Like 35 to 45 range.
It depends on the circumstances and the level of care and
also the location too. Sometimes locations could offset because the caregiver has to drive a little further out. So locations, hours, it really depends.
If there's the caregiver is staying overnight, and there's 24-hour care. Does that come? Is that still the same cost, or if is it? I don't know.
Good question. So there is a day. So there's a daily, and I'm doing this for home care companies across the board. It could be anywhere. I don't know. Say $350 to $450. I'm going to give a broad range there, but that's typical across the board. For any home care companies around this area. In New Jersey.
Earlier, we talked about the veterans and the Veterans Administration that you partner with or you're accredited by. Are there other organizations that will help reimburse these costs?
Good question. So we also we are long-term care insurance experts. So we do accept long-term care. We work with all of the long-term care companies. We will also go so far as to accept all of the assignment of benefits, and we will submit the claims for the client as well. So, and we will do that on a recurring basis and just bill the insurance company, and then they get reimbursed.
So, I personally am a big fan of long-term care insurance. A lot of people poo-poo it. You're never going to use it. They always deny you. Whatever the excuse is. But I think it's actually a really good part of an investment portfolio if you can pay for it. So this is a good reason right here. You get to stay in your home.
Yes, absolutely. And every plan is different. Definitely every policy is different. So some it may go towards assisted living, some it may go towards home. So, every policy is different.
But you help kind of get through the weeds on that.
Yeah, so we have an expert on our staff that will, as soon as we have identified that someone has a long-term care insurance, we'll have them reach out to, and go over the process with them. Sometimes it's like, where is that policy? It can be very daunting and overwhelming. So we'll walk them through that process. But everything and anything helps.
Yeah. I'm going to read you this question because it's a paragraph long and I don't know why. But in my experience, working with the bereaved and traumatized, there's many times a disconnect between the family caregivers and the person suffering. I see it a lot. And home care may be a perfect fit, but there's resistance by the person suffering to accept the support. I don't need it. I don't want a stranger in my house. We talked about that before. And I see these poor family members struggling to feel good about their parent or whatever, brother or sister, being in this home situation where they're in danger or they can't go home, but they won't accept help. So do you have any recommendations that may bridge that divide and help the person suffering to accept support? How can the family work together or call you and get suggestions? Do you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah. So I would definitely say, of course, when we meet with families, like, you can try to enter it in by saying, maybe just temporary care in the beginning. Like this is, and I'm very, very open about it. Saying like, this may not be what you want, but this is what you need right now. This is a blip in the road, right? Something, a lot of times they automatically think that this is forever. This is my forever. And that's hard to grapple. So sometimes I think like, don't think of the future. Let's just think of today and tomorrow. Right? Let's think of this right now because, we all do it. Our heads become swirling like, oh, this is what I'm going to be like. You may have just broken your leg, right? Right? This is a temporary situation. So let's think of it as temporary. Don't think long term. Let's not jump to it and just kind of get them back. So this isn't what you want right now, but I also, tell them like, this is what you need, and if so we, for those that are suffering, that maybe have just suffered a loss, I would highly recommend, we are really blessed to have a program that came out of COVID to address the senior loneliness, the isolation, depression, anxiety, that a lot of the seniors feel, with a program. Our program is called LEAP, which stands for Life Enrichment Activities Program. And we are blessed to have a director, and she has a vast background in community mental health. So she will meet with our, our families and kind of find out what's going on, right? So she'll meet just like a social worker, right? You have that social worker background in you. So it's, they just may need that extra. We can provide the physical, but it's also that mental health that is really, really important. And how can we support them? So we usually get the families on board with that. And, we have, to give you an example, we have one that just has a lot of emotional needs, and she just kind of lashes out, right? So because of the anxiety. So she tends to, she works with her and journals with her, and how it teaches her how to journal and how to get that out through writing. So just like something as simple as that, but definitely, they can always start out with just meeting with the director and not being on services with us. We do offer that on its standalone. So maybe those that are completely against it, we have started with that program for just meeting with her for like once a week, and slowly but surely opening them up to possibly getting some care.
Well, as a psychotherapist, a social worker, I love the approach you take with the sort of the whole body, the mind and the body, right? And I love the idea that you bring up the very present moment issue of, you may not want this, but you need it. And I think that's very calming in a way to say, listen, I may only need this for a day or a week or a month, and it's not for the rest of my life, which we can all spiral into very quickly.
Totally. Yep.
So I think you have an award-winning program.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have awards? Do you get awards? Are you do you do surveys? Do you figure out if you guys are hitting the mark?
So yes, we actually work with a third-party company.
Oh.
It's called Homecare Pulse, and they do random calls per month to our clients and to our caregivers, and they ask them questions. So really looking for that unfiltered, unbiased feedback, and then we get scores, and those scores is what really helps HomeWell to get in that top 10% nationwide of that client and caregiver satisfaction. So for the last 3 years, we actually were awarded from Homecare Pulse Best of Home Care for leader in experience. So that also incorporates provider of choice and also employee of choice. So basically our caregivers are happy to provide that exceptional customer service experience, which we really strive to be. So
I'm impressed.
thank you.